Welcome into episode 5 of Hog Talk, everybody. Team broadcaster Mike Folta here with you. We're already on our 5th episode of the official IceHogs podcast. We have a great interview that we recorded earlier with Logan Nijhoff, a fun chat with him. We sat down with him for about 20-25 minutes or so that's coming up in just a little bit. I'll break down things for you here a little bit. We're going to try and stay away from some of the news and focus more on the interviews in some of the episodes ahead. We know that that's what everybody wants to get to is the chats with IceHogs players, staff, and the likes. But we have a great chat with Logan coming up. We'll continue to have more IceHog players and staff on throughout the season as well. We've had some really great feedback from all of you guys so far, whether you're listening on podcast, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or you're watching on YouTube. Please like the channel, whatever channel that may be. If you're listening on podcast, don't be afraid to leave us a review as well. But we sincerely appreciate everybody tuning in as you guys have. We have people listening from all across Canada, of course, all across the state line area here in the States. We have some people listening over in Europe as well, according to our charts. So we know that people are tuning in. We're getting a couple hundred people listening per episode right now, combined with YouTube and podcasts. So we're glad to be bringing to you this IceHogs content, but we hope that you share it with a couple of your friends as well, so that more people can hear the great stories of this IceHogs team. And so far, it's an IceHogs team that is 5-5 on the year here. Today is Wednesday, November 15th as we record this. The IceHogs have a 3-game in 3-day stretch coming up this weekend. The first game being a home match against the Milwaukee Admirals, the first game of the year against Milwaukee. It's also NASCAR night. I'm being told that there's going to be some driving simulators around the concourse and things like that. So be sure to get to the BMO Center early and enjoy all of that. If you're watching on YouTube right now, I hope that you're enjoying the beautiful backdrop that we have added to our set here on the podcast. And I'm all gussied up in a suit for you guys as well. You're really getting the full Hog Talk experience here. We told you that we'd bring you some more bells and whistles as we moved along this season, and here we are. But like we said, going to try and start steering away from the news side of things. You can look at the IceHogs website or the IceHogs social media channels to get those news. We're going to try and bring you more of the interesting the stories and focus more on those interviews with the players. We do want to keep some of our segments, though, that we've been running on this podcast, those being the What If segment and the Bold Prediction segment. And we do have a What If for you here on episode 5 of Hog Talk. This What If comes from Brooke in Belvedere. So, Brooke, thank you for writing in. Thank you for telling us where you're from. But Brooke in Belvedere gives us the What If. What if Iowa gets all its guys back from Minnesota? So this is a what if focused on not the IceHogs, but one of the IceHogs rival, and of course the Wild, a team that the Hogs will play a couple of times this upcoming weekend. This will be matchup 3 and 4 on the season between Rockford and Iowa. They already played each other twice. Rockford won 6-2 back on October 27th, and then this past week, Iowa won 4-2. So the series split 1-1 as we sit right now and as we record this. But Brooke, you bring up a great point. Iowa has a lot of guys up in the NHL right now. They've had a few guys that have been banged up. Nick Swaney's been a little bit injured these last couple weeks. Their captain, or who we thought was going to be their captain in Iowa, Dakota Murmis, very versatile defenseman. He's been up in Minnesota to start this season. Guys like Vinny Lettieri, Jujhar Khaira have spent time in the NHL. Damon Hunt has been on recall up with Minnesota as well. And Nick Swaney, their leading scorer up until this point, had been up with the Minnesota Wild as well in the National Hockey League. So, Brooke, great question there, using some insight that you maybe picked up in our game notes or on our IceHogs warm-up pregame show these last couple of weeks, because we've been mentioning how many guys Iowa has up in the NHL. But what if Iowa gets all those guys back all of a sudden? They snap their fingers, and just like Milwaukee right before the playoffs last year, a flood of guys comes down to the AHL. Well, if that happens, then Iowa would have as much talent as any team in the Central Division. So that is the bottom line. If Iowa gets all those guys back, that's not to say that they would start dominating everybody. There's a difference between having the most talent and winning. I think the Central Division is too close to say that they would be the far and away favorite to even win that division. But getting all those guys back would give them an advantage really at every level of the ice. They feel like they have a goaltending advantage with Jesper Wallstedt. He has been wonderful to start this year. And in fact, Iowa might have to start leaning on Jesper more with Zane McIntyre. He hasn't been that good out of the gate so far with Iowa. But then on the defensive side of things, you get a guy like Dakota Murmas back. Then maybe somebody like Andy Walensky can focus more on the defensive side of things. It takes some pressure off of him offensively. And if you get forwards like Vinny Lettieri back in the lineup, if Jujhar Khaira is there consistently, Nick Batan is back on that top line, then all of a sudden for Iowa, they're going to start to have some scorers on their third and fourth forward line. So it could be a scary lineup down the road for the Wild, but it's an ever-changing landscape in the AHL, and that's the case for Iowa just as it is for the Rockford IceHogs as well. Plenty of guys that will be going up and down this year between the Hogs and the Blackhawks. But one guy that came over on a trade last season to the IceHogs was Logan Nijhoff. We have an interview with him coming up here in just a moment. Great chat with Logan. Great kid as well. It's been really fun to get to know him. I think, make a mistake talking to him. I mentioned he had his first pro goal. That's actually not true. He scored his first AHL goal with the IceHogs a couple of weeks ago, in fact, against Iowa. But he's had a good start to the year when he's been in the lineup. He's one of those guys who brings a physical presence and plays hard, plays the right way a lot of times in his action thus far with the Hogs. But we don't want to waste any more time. We want to get right to our interview with Logan and our chat with the BC native. But here's Logan Nijhoff on Hog Talk. All right, now we welcome on IceHogs forward Logan Nijhoff. Logan, thanks for joining us here. Thanks for taking the time, man.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me on.
I think you were doing some media work over there for the video board. Would they have you draw on something over there?
Yeah, they just kind of gave us a picture that we got to look at for 5 seconds and then had 30 seconds to draw it. So I had a moose, so that was a little difficult for me. I haven't drawn in a while. Yeah,
you're not a big artist?
No, I used to enjoy art, but I haven't done it in a while.
Okay. Well, we've been enjoying watching you out there, man. First couple games here with the IceHogs over the last couple weeks. Got your first pro goal. Can you take us through that a little bit? That was during the big win against Iowa on, 27th, I think? But take us through that play, man.
Yeah, it was definitely very exciting. We lost the face-off, but me and Bads were able to get on the forecheck pretty quick, and they just kind of sent it up the wall. And then, Phillips threw it on net, and I happened to get my stick on it, so it definitely felt good.
It's kind of like the Chris Kreider celebration a little bit, like one knee up. Was that planned? Is that your go-to?
No, honestly, I haven't scored a ton of goals in the last year, so it's just kind of one that I've used before and kind of a go-to, I guess. So, yeah.
You played a little bit last year in San Diego, 16 games before you got your first goal. Now, did it feel good to get the monkey off the back a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. I think it was definitely a tough transition last year, and I worked a lot on my shooting and my touch around the net this summer. Regina's got a really good facility for that, called TS Shooting, so I was able to go there 4 or 5 times a week. So it's definitely something that I worked on hard this summer. So it was nice to get rewarded early on, and hopefully I can keep contributing in that way.
Well, we know it was a struggle for almost everybody with San Diego last year. Just unfortunately, that team just was near the bottom of the standings for most of the year. We had some guys over from the goals that joined the IceHogs in the middle of the year, and they were talking about how they would feel pretty good about their game, but they would look at the stat sheet and they'd be -3, -4 for the night. Like, was that really tough for you as a first-year pro playing on a team that was just at the bottom of the standings?
Yeah, definitely. I think, we had a lot of unreal guys there. We just, for some reason, it didn't quite click. And being a first-year guy, I didn't really know any different. So I was just going to the rink happy and positive every day and trying to do what I can. But, no, I'm definitely getting some more opportunity here. And, I've connected really well with all the guys. So it definitely feels really warm and welcoming here.
First couple weeks of the season here with the IceHogs, we've seen you in the lineup fairly consistently through the first handful of weeks. But what's it been like here in Rockford since you've been with us in the state line?
Yeah, it's definitely nice. It's it's a lot different than San Diego for sure.
Colder or
yeah, it's getting cold, but I found it very difficult last year being in a warm climate for the first time, going to the rink in December, January, and shorts and shirt. It kind of didn't feel like hockey season for a little bit. So playing junior in Saskatchewan, I got used to the cold, and I learned to love it. So I'm definitely excited to be here and excited to see snow again this season.
Talk to us about training camp a little bit. What was that like when you were, kind of competing for ice time, but also roster spots here with the IceHogs? Like, what was that like for you battling in camp?
Yeah, I think any time that you go to a new team, you want to display yourself to the coaches and management. It's definitely kind of a thing that you got to learn, that you might be buddies with the guys off the ice, but then when you get on the ice, you're competing for a spot. So I think I definitely learned maybe that last year. So yeah, you can be friends off the ice, but then when you get on the ice, you're competing for a spot. But no, camp was hard. It was fast paced and physical, and yeah, I thought it was a really good camp.
You were really noticeable in those preseason games against Iowa. You dropped the gloves in one of those games. Were you feeling like, okay, I got to make a big impression in these two?
Yeah, I think when you have only 2 games, you got to try to do everything that you can to I guess display yourself and your strengths. I wouldn't say I'm a fighter, but I'm not scared too if the opportunity.
You racked up some PIMs in juniors, right?
Yeah, if the opportunity arises, I definitely think it's something that can get the boys going, and it's something that's still important in hockey. So, when that opportunity arose, I tried to take advantage of it, and just try to show my compete level in the 2 games that I got to play.
You talked about going to Regina and working on your shot a little bit. Was that this past summer?
Yeah, I've decided, like last summer and I guess 2 summers ago and this summer, I made the full change to living there in the summer full time. I'm fortunate enough to have a really good connection with my old billets, so they were kind enough to open their arms to me again during the summer. There's an extremely good professional group there called Next Level Hockey Consulting. I'm able to skate with a large group of professionals there and have a 4-on-4 league and just have more opportunities for hockey in the off season in my hometown of Comox, British Columbia. The rinks could take the ice out all summer, so it's about an hour and a half drive for me to get ice during the summer on the island. So it's definitely something that I've talked to my parents about, and it's something that I kind of feel like I need to do to continue to progress.
Yeah, so that's you jumping like truly full bore and putting your life into pro hockey, right? I mean, like, was this decision a decision that you made a couple years ago? Was it something that you made more recently, or did you always kind of know that this was coming?
I didn't know moving in the summer was coming. I knew since I was young my dream is to play professional hockey and play in the NHL. So I think making sacrifices like that is pretty easy for me, I guess, because I know what my goals are, and if I can do something that's going to help me progress, I'm going to jump on that.
Well, and you have had a really special time in Regina. 2-year captain there with the Pats. You were there for parts of 6 seasons, I want to say, right? You joined. Were you 15 when you played up in the playoffs that first year, or were you 16 at that point?
Yeah, when I was 15,
Okay.
I got called up for playoffs and got to play 1 game in the first round and one game in the third round. That was definitely very exciting.
Yeah. So, but you were there your entire junior career. I mean, that place has to hold a pretty special place in your heart, I would imagine.
Yeah, definitely. I love Regina. I love everything about it. The people, the coaches, the management staff, the teammates I've met. It's definitely a place that I hold very close to my heart, and I guess some senses kind of feels like home after growing up there, being 15 to 20. Those are kind of crucial years in someone's development. So I just developed a lot of really special relationships there, and even before I came to camp here, I was there participating in training camp and got to coach a couple games in their camp.
You were coaching for the Pats in some of their like exhibition games and stuff.
Yeah, I got to coach like their blue and white game, like their final game. They asked me to hop behind the bench, so that was pretty special. Were you just giving it to the refs, or what was that experience like? It was a little interesting because I some of the refs were refs that I definitely maybe battled with throughout my times playing. So it was kind of cool to have the other side, I guess, where I could maybe talk to them a little bit more, but they weren't really having it.
What kind of coach are you? What's your style? Are you a player's coach, or are you a little harder on the room?
Well, yeah, it was just for one game, and I was practicing with all the boys throughout the week, so it was a little tough to transition from being on the ice with them to coaching them. So yeah, I was just kind of trying to help out the younger guys as much as I could in certain situations that I saw. I was coaching the D, so it was a little different for me, but I just kind of tried to give them little pointers and tips for some of the young guys that maybe it was their first WHL camp, because I remember what that was like for me.
Getting a taste of it, did it kind of make you think about, okay, like once my playing days are eventually over, like coaching is something that I would want to do?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully that's a long ways down the line, but definitely being given that opportunity was an eye-opener, and I definitely enjoyed that. I've had different opportunities to coach different summer camps and skills camps, which I've definitely enjoyed, but yeah, it's definitely something that I enjoy. I love the game of hockey, so it's definitely cool to kind of get a little perspective of being behind the bench.
Now, I thought I read a story that talked about you maybe coaching your billet brother or someone in your billet family. Was that accurate? I'm trying to remember where I read that. I can't attribute it, but did that happen?
I didn't really coach them, but a couple times I just went out to their practices and helped them out.
How old were they?
They would have been probably 9 and 12 at the time when I was going out. Yeah,
gotcha. So pretty young guys.
Yeah, pretty young guys, which is fun. They're so cute at that age, and they just chase the puck around. So yeah, it's definitely fun to get out and help the community when you can.
But you mentioned that you have a very close relationship with your billet family. Was that something that happened in year one? Were they your billet family all the way throughout?
Yeah, well, I actually switched my billet families for my last year. I had really, really good billets my first 4 years, I guess, and then there was some family implications, so I had to switch, and yeah, I moved in with a different set of billets, and they were very welcoming. I still text them almost every week and talk to them, and they help me with my cooking and stuff like that. So yeah, I've definitely developed a really good relationship with them.
Yeah, now you're in pro hockey, man. Like, I know you were in a pro last year too, but like, what's the eating routine look like? What's the home life look like for you? I mean, have you feel like you're adapted to the pro lifestyle where you're eating healthy and all that stuff, cooking some chicken at home?
Yeah, I think so. I think last year's I think the biggest challenge for me was like on game days and whatnot, when my billets would cook for me and I could just wake up from my nap and have a meal ready to go. But I've always kind of cooked at home, especially breakfast since I've been pretty young, and lunches. It was just kind of supper that kind of threw me in the loop last year. But I have an air fryer and a rice cooker, so I normally just do like a meat, rice. And,
can't really mess that up, right?
Yeah, the rice, hit the button, air fry, and then make a salad.
You mentioned Comox, your hometown out in BC. That's a small town across the Sound from Vancouver. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's you got to take the ferry from Vancouver to Nanaimo, and then it's about an hour drive to Comox.
Okay, so it's a small town. Is it like a fishing village?
It was a small town. I guess I could say it's growing. It's probably about 50,000 people by now. With COVID and people realizing they could work from home, a lot of people from Vancouver moved over. So when I go home
no, they're not true natives then. Yeah. Come on.
When I go home, I especially notice now, like when I was young, there'd be no traffic, and now there's traffic, which is a little frustrating, but I guess it's just how the world's working.
But it's obviously a beautiful part of the country, right? I mean, you got the fir trees and all that stuff all the way around. Is it just a gorgeous place to grow up in?
Yeah, I was definitely very fortunate to grow up in Comox. We have a ski hill 45 minutes away. We have lots of beautiful lakes, different hiking mountains, the ocean. My brother and dad are big fishermen, so I'll get out on the boat a couple times. So yeah, just being able to have like lakes, mountains, ocean right there was definitely really cool to grow up in.
Is it hard to be here in the Midwest with no mountains, pretty flat landscape?
No, not really, because I was in Regina, so I got used to that. But no, I'm here to play hockey, and that's my dream. So it makes it a lot easier. It'd probably be a little more challenging if I didn't have hockey and was just living here, but no, I moved away from home at 14 from hockey, so it's something that I've always been driven towards. So it makes being not at home easier.
You mentioned your brother and dad going fishing. Would you throw some lines out there too?
Yeah, when I can. My brother actually fish guides in the summer, so he leaves home from summer as well, up to Haida Gwaii to charter fish guiding. And then, yeah, when I get home, I would try to go out a couple times with my dad just for fun.
So he's a professional fisherman, basically. You're a pro hockey player, right?
I guess technically he's a professional fisherman, yeah.
How is that the extent of your family right there? Like, do you have any more brothers and sisters, or?
No, just an older brother and a dog.
Was he a hockey player too, or?
He was, yes. He finished playing when he was 20 years old, and he just played on the island playing junior B.
Gotcha. And you mentioned there's not a ton of ice there, right, where you are. So, like growing up and stuff, were your folks having to like ferry you across to play and stuff like that?
No, they weren't. There's lots of ice, but just in the summers, especially in Comox, they take it out. But yeah, we were always traveling quite a bit. I guess we'd only practice I think twice a week, and I'd do power skatings on Mondays, and then every weekend, yeah, my parents sacrificed a lot and drove me down island, upwards of 3 hours every weekend.
A lot of players, when they get their first goal or they hit a milestone or something like that, they kind of reflect back on the people that helped get them there. When you scored your first AHL goal with the IceHogs, was there a reflection, kind of thinking of your parents and the sacrifices they made and things like that?
Yeah, definitely. We called after the game, and just to reflect back on, I guess, coming from a small town and leaving home so early, and to be able to score a goal, and I guess second best league in the world is pretty special. And yeah, I can't thank my family and everyone who supported me enough.
Mm-hmm. What do you think are some of the biggest obstacles that you've overcome so far in your professional journey? I know it's a young journey, right? And a lot of years ahead of you, but what would you say are some of the biggest obstacles that you've been able to kind of step over to get to where you are right now?
I think in my pro career, getting traded was definitely something I'd never been used to before. So switching organizations and trying to redevelop bonds and connections. I think not having the start that I wanted to last year, and maybe not playing as much as I thought I would coming into pro, was definitely hard on me to continue to, do everything I can to get better despite the situation. And yeah, just try to have a smile every day at the rink. I wouldn't say I overcame that. I think it was, I just love hockey, so it's fun and easy to go to the rink, but maybe, just being a rookie again, maybe, and not having that much communication and, being on your own and stuff was a little bit challenging, but overall, I've really loved pro hockey.
I wanted to ask about the trade as well, because you were traded to the IceHogs last season. We didn't get to see you in any game action last season, but where were you when you got the call, and what went through your head when you were notified that, hey, you've been traded to Rockford?
It was actually a pretty crazy week how it all happened, but I was in Kalamazoo, just got out of the shower and was going to go for dinner with some of the guys, and then I got a call from a Texas number. I didn't have the contact in my phone, and yeah, they just basically a 2-minute call saying you've been traded. Thank you for everything. And then I kind of had to figure out where I was going from there, and then I got in contact with Duncan and Indy and Bernie and stuff, and then figured it out. But yeah, I played Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Tulsa, and then bust Monday night to Cincinnati, played Wednesday in Cincinnati, and then Thursday bust to Kalamazoo, and then got traded that evening, had to rent a car, drive to Indy, play Friday in Indy, Saturday back in Cincinnati, and then Sunday I flew to Texas, and then to Tulsa, and then Tulsa to Arizona to San Diego for a night to get my stings, and then back the following day to Phoenix, and then to San Diego.
Oh my God, that's just plane, trains, and automobiles. It's ridiculous. I mean, how many games and how many days was that? That like would 5 or 6 games in there at least, right?
Yeah, I guess, what would that be? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday, 6 games in close to 7 days.
Unbelievable. I don't think a lot of people realize, and I've never been traded either, but I don't think a lot of people realize what goes on in those trades, and players have to pretty much drop their lives and pick up and move and go through all that travel. And then not only on top of that, you're expected to perform too once you get to a new spot, right? Mm-hmm. What was it like in Indy when you first got there?
Yeah, it was awesome when I first got to Indy, just how welcoming they were, and they understood the situation and stuff, and they just wanted to go out and work as hard as I could, and so that's what I did. But yeah, everyone in Indy was extremely welcoming to me. So I thought the transition was pretty easy. I didn't know really what to expect. It was kind of all a blur because I'd never been traded before, so I had no like past experience to look back on. But no, I thought it went pretty well.
And this wouldn't be an interview with a player in the Blackhawks organization if we didn't bring up Connor Bedard, right? That was the guy that you played with in Regina for a couple of seasons. You two were a couple of the leading scorers for the Pats for a few years there. What was it like playing with a young Bedard?
Yeah, it was awesome. Being able to get a player of that caliber definitely helped the Regina Pats enormously. But yeah, I think just the friendship we've developed is really special. I was fortunate enough 2 summers ago to go and live with him for a couple weeks in Vancouver. So just to kind of, he taught me just as much as maybe I could have taught him. He's an extremely special guy, and to be able to maintain a friendship with him is really special.
At what point did you know he was going to be a superstar? I know he was young coming into the league and things like that, but even as like a 16-year-old, was it pretty evident when he was putting up 100 points that he was going to be a threat at the NHL level?
Yeah, well, when he was 15, our first practice, we were supposed to do a drill where you pass it off the far pad of the goalie, and he came in just inside the blue line and ripped it short side bar down. And right after then, and then a couple days later, he was beating our 20-year-old defensemen pretty easily. So I kind of knew at that point. And then obviously just seeing him every day and how much work he puts into it, it was pretty obvious that he'd be able to make it to where he is.
So you're coming down the boards, or you're coming down the far wing looking for the rebound off the pads, and Bedard's just scoring every time on these drills?
Yeah, he definitely made it look a lot easier than it was. But yeah, but a lot of people don't know how much work he puts into his craft, and a lot of people maybe just think it's genetics or whatever people may say. But yeah, he's the hardest working player I know. He skates 9 times a week in the summer. He's in the gym for 3 hours every day. He eats everything that he needs to, not necessarily that he wants to. He always has a healthy diet. He doesn't do anything that's going to affect his performance, and he always has that in the back of his mind. And everything he does is towards hockey, and that's why he's such an amazing player.
He's a fit guy too. He clearly has gotten after it in the weight room. Can you kind of fill us in a little bit when you're in the junior level, like what a weights program or a strength program looks like? Because we know kind of at college it's pretty rigorous, but it feels like there's some more variability maybe at the junior level between different teams.
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on the team and the schedule. Yeah. Obviously, you play 68 games in the CHL opposed to college, which is 20.
Yeah, 20, around 30 or so.
Around 30. So, yeah, you're often playing Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and then a day off a week. And then, so it's definitely a lot harder to maybe build muscle, but you do a lot of workouts on your practice days just to maintain.
Mm-hmm. So what's that been like here, playing pro, and kind of getting used to the strength program that Paul Sawyer has in place here with the IceHogs? Is that just kind of fit right into your normal repertoire of what you're used to doing?
Yeah, I think it's definitely very similar to what I've been used to. It's every strength trainer does it a little different, but no, it's been awesome. The workouts have been really good, and been keeping everyone feeling good and strong.
Peel back the curtain a little bit for us here. I was kind of trying to dig into who you are away from the rink a little bit earlier, but when you're not at practice, today you're gonna have a whole afternoon here to kind of hang out. Are you a video game guy, or are you? I know you said you weren't as big of a fisherman as your brother or anything. Are you getting outside? What are you doing in these off hours?
Yeah, I'm not a video game player at all. Normally I like to watch movies or do some reading, but I'm actually trying to get my business degree right now. So, yeah, I'm pretty busy doing school. So I've been trying to do as much as I can with my downtime, but also maintain a healthy balance.
Is that all like online school then? Or?
Yeah, it is. It's I did it this year to try to access my WHL scholarship, which I'm fortunate enough to have. So I've been chipping away at that.
Nice. Is that pretty tough for you, getting back into the school grind, or no?
Yeah, it definitely was a little bit the first week. I hadn't done school in would have been 4 years. So, but now it's kind of getting into the swing of things, and it's given me something else to focus on when I'm not at the rink, which is nice because yeah, I'm not a video game player really or anything. So it's given me something to do.
A baller on the ice and a student off the ice. Well, Logan, thanks again for sitting down with us here, man. This has been great, and we're excited to watch you develop here in pro year number 2 and see what you can do with us here in Rockford.
Thank you, appreciate it.
It was great chatting with Logan. Really fun conversation with him. And again, we'll continue to have more IceHogs on throughout the season as well. Next episode coming up in a couple of weeks. Next home game for the IceHogs coming up on Friday, November 17th. It is NASCAR night, so we're going to have some, I've been told, driving simulators, which I'm very excited for. We'll have some of those out there on the concourse at the BMO Center ahead of our matchup between Rockford and Milwaukee. And we also have a refillable tumbler giveaway this Friday as well. So make sure you're there early to be one of the first 1,500 fans to cash in on that refillable tumbler. But after that, the IceHogs head west to take on the Iowa Wild for a game on Saturday and then a game on Sunday afternoon, both of those at Wells Fargo Arena. So we'll see you in a couple weeks, but thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of Hog Talk and our interview with Logan Nijhoff. We'll see you next time.